Very good morning to all. In this class, let us have a discussion of object-oriented programming concepts, basic introduction about object-oriented programming. So while we are discussing about the object-oriented term, the language it will come in our mind is a C++. C++ is an object-oriented programming language. So as you know that how the programming language have been evolved, that's what will be the software evolutions are there, and then why we have called it as it's a procedural oriented language or object oriented language, structural oriented language. So like this, the different kinds of the basic definitions we can learn, and in addition to that we can also focus on some of the basic introduction about the C programming, and then from that we can move on to the C++. Then from that the various kind of other concepts like functions, pointers, and other important concepts which is available on major OOPS object oriented programming concepts which is available on your subjects. Okay, let us move on to the class. And in this class, let us start with the software evolution. This is the different kinds of programming methodologies. So before we go for learning any kind of programming technology, we should aware of that. Then what will be the evolutions? That is, what will be the history, what will be the present thing, and what will be the future possibilities of growth is there for the particular programming. And these are all the various kind of the programming languages, types of programming languages are available. So machine language, so as you know that the machine language means it's a zeros and ones binary format. The machine can understand only zeros and ones binary format. So based on that, that only it will do all the functions, but but the human being can understand the high level of language. That is a high level language we can call it. That high level language have to be converted into the corresponding machine level language format, zeros and ones binary format. So this kind of process will be handled by the compilers and assemblers, linkers, loaders. These are all the various kind of system softwares which will support the various kind of the process for executing the programs. Then the next one is assembly language. So assembly language, as you know that it's a major role of it's a assembler. It will do the conversion of assembly level language into machine level language binary format. So what will be the format of assembly language? That's the first point. So it is in a mnemonics format. So mnemonics format, it means that is the first one is a operator, then the next one is a operands. So it means that that's a, for example, if I want to store the two numbers in our system, usually the data will be stored is in the form of in the register only. So the values, whatever the values we have assigned, that values will be stored on the registers. So from the register only we can do any kind of arithmetic or logical operations we can perform. So the assembly language, it will can have different kinds of assembly mnemonics codes are available. So it may be add function, subtract function, move functions. So whatever the thing we can perform with the help of the assembly language, and after writing the mnemonic code, the assembler it will convert the assembly language into the corresponding machine language format. Then the next type of programming is a procedure oriented programming. So procedure oriented programming, it means that is a set of procedures or the program have been written with the help of set of modules. So the in each and every step-by-step procedures have been followed in order to write the program. The C, C++, Java, all the programming languages, they are following some set of procedures to execute the set of statements. Then the next one is a structured oriented language. So C is a structured oriented language because it can have a data members and it can have a functions. There will be a fixed structure is there. So by using that structure only we can perform the reusability of code and everything we can achieve. Object oriented programming, that's the next one. So here the program have been written with the help of the objects. It can have a set of classes. So we are creating the object for a class. By using the object, we can access all the variables and functions of a class. So that is a different kinds of programming methodologies we are following in a software paradigm. And as you know that the machine level language, zeros and ones binary format we are using, and it is difficult to make corrections and updates on the code. So as a human being, it is not it is not easy to find out the zeros and ones for a particular word. So that's why only we go for using the system softwares. Then the next one is assembly language programming. So as we have discussed earlier, it's a mnemonic codes. It is used to represent the command sequence. So there's a move, jump, call, add, sub, compare. So these are all the some kind of mnemonic codes. So here it will perform all the different kinds of operations among the various kind of register we are using, and within the register we are storing all the datas. Okay, so that is a kind of as like your ordinary C++ or C programming. So here also in the mnemonics we are calling, we are call, jump. These are all the various kind. We may have used the go to statement, or otherwise we are using some kind of function call in our C or C++ programming. So similar to that, the mnemonic codes, the format is differ, and the why we need to use for assembly language means that is a that is a program, that is also a programming language that can directly interact with the hardware of a computer. Yeah, that's in the processor it can directly communicate. It will execute all those things. The procedural oriented programming languages, the program is divided into number of segments, or otherwise we can call it as a procedure, and each procedures perform the particular task. So if I want to do the same kind of task repeatedly, then I can call that particular procedures, and I can execute that objective. And the next one is the normal thing what we are following is a input data, then after that process the data, then output data. These are all the actual major process we are doing. And in this diagram you can see that there will be a main program, and we can have a number of functions are there within the main program. So from one function it can call another function, or otherwise from the main program we can call any kind of functions which is available on the program. In the next diagram you can see that there will be a global data as well as the local data within the functions. So global data means that it's a public data, that is a from any functions within the class or any place we can access that particular variable or datas. If it is a local data means within that function only we can access that datas. Outside the functions it is not possible to access the data. So that's why only in the C++, the object oriented programming, we are creating the object. By using that object within the class, whatever the variables or functions we are using, we can access it easily. Okay, so that is a main objective behind that. And then the next one is a structured programming. It is mainly used for large size projects. As we have already discussed earlier, normally in the project, while we go for doing any kind of projects, the project is divided into number of modules based on the size of the project. If the project size is very huge, then it is not possible to do at a single stretch. Then we can divide the project into number of modules with respect to the objective or task. Then each and every modules we can create the number of classes and functions, and then we can complete our project. So it will tells about the algorithm which is better than the data, and the modules are independent to each other. The each and every modules may be dependent to each other or may be independent to each other in a project. While we have started to do the project one modules, it may be dependent to each other. If it is dependent means if we are making some kind of changes or updations on one modules, it will be reflected on the another modules also. So while we go for doing the testing process in your software development life cycle, so if there is a changes or error, if we find out, then it will affect the another module also. So that is the based on the application what we are using, the different kinds of the independency or dependencies may be happen in between the more than one modules. Then parameter passing mechanisms, which is followed for the intermodule communication. As I have discussed earlier, that is a intermodule. If there is a dependency among more than one modules within the project is there, then we can go for parameter passing mechanism. Then maintaining the large project, which is difficult and costly. So that's why only we go for using the procedural structural oriented programming. So the Pascal and C programming, it's a structural oriented programming. Procedural oriented language is a, as we have discussed earlier, that's a C, C++, Java. These are all the procedural oriented language. Structured programming language is a C language. Okay. Then now let us move on to the soft object oriented programming. That is our subject. So this is the actual evolution of object oriented programming, starts from the machine level language. Then object oriented programming, it is mainly used for decompose the problem into number of entities called objects. So in this diagram you can see that there will be a datas and functions are there, and each and every functions can interact with each other, and within the class there are three classes we are using. So it means that there are three classes we are using. All the classes can interact with the help of that functions. How the classes can access, how the datas and functions which is available on the class can be accessed by creating the object. Okay, so that is a datas and objects that can be accessed only by the functions associated with the objects, and one object functions may call the another object functions. That's another one more point. The C++ Java is an object oriented programming language, and the Java is a platform independent language, as you know that. So but it will also support the object oriented programming concepts. Now let us have a discussion of features of object oriented programming. The first one is important for data rather than the procedures. Rather than focus on the algorithms, it's mainly focus on the accessibility of data and functions. Then the programs can be divided into number of objects. And the important point is object may be communicate with each other through the functions. So from this diagram, you can easily understand the more than one functions are there. By using that objects, we can access any one particular function within the class, or in between the more than one classes, the function can communicate. And then the new data or functions can be added very easily. Okay, because within the class, we can add any number of datas or functions. That is up to you. Because if we have created one particular object, within that, by using the object, we can access any kind of data or any kind of functions. Then the next one is the follows the bottom up approach in the program design. So in the program design, it should be followed. That is from top to bottom. If you are following that hierarchy, then that is a specialization we can achieve. If you are moving from bottom to top in the conceptual hierarchy, that is a generalization we can achieve. So in your program, that is a project, while we go for doing some kind of analysis of your project, you can detailedly study about then each and every modules, and each and every how many number of modules are there, and within the modules how many number of the attributes and fields we are going to include, and how the objects can be again derived into number of another some kind of derived objects. So these are all the some kind of analysis we can make while we go for doing some kind of projects, applications. Okay, right. Now let us discuss about the data is hidden and it cannot be accessed by the external functions. Some kind of data may be within that particular class. It may not be accessed. It may be a global data or it may be a local data. So based on the access privileges or access specifies functionality, your data may be hidden or it may not be hidden. Now let us move on to the important concept, that is a OOPS, object oriented programming concepts. So this is the actual syntax for your class. So within the class we can have attributes, attribute 1, 2 up to n, or we can have a number of operations. Operations we can also call it as a functions. So operation 1, 2, 3 up to n. So this is the actual class. So how we are going to access that particular attributes and operations means by creating the object. So with the help of that object, we can access the attributes and operations. That is one more example. That is by means of the object account, I can access the account number, account type, or name, or balance. At the same time, I can use those kind of variables within that function, and by using that object, I can access that functions also individually. Okay, any number of objects we can create for a single class. So you should know about that. So then the next one is object oriented OOPS concepts. Ob- uh, Normally objects, classes, data abstraction and encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, message passing mechanism. So these are all the some kind of basic concepts. So while you go for attending some kind of placement drives or some other interview process, if we are asking about the questions from the object oriented programming, definitely the questions will be there. So you have to give a definition for each and every OOPS concepts along with one programming example. If you have a ability to explain clear manner, then definitely you can get a chance. Okay, let us have a discussion of what is meant by object. So object is an instance of a class, because by using the object we can access any kind of variables or functions within the class. Okay, then object may be a person or it may be a place or thing, whatever it may be. Everything will be considered as an object or entity. We can call it as a objects. Every object has a structure called attributes and behaviors. So whatever the object we have considered as a human being means we can have some kind of features, some kind of additional that particular person other outlook appearance maybe look like this. And then in addition to that, what will be the characteristics of that particular person? What will be the behavior of that particular person? So that is also thing. So likewise, each and every objects within the in our real time can have individual attributes and behaviors. Any number of objects are created for the class. So that's an important point we have discussed earlier. By using that object, we can access the attributes and functions. Now let us have a small example of class, how to create a class, and what will be the data encapsulation and abstraction methods we are following. So data encapsulation, it means that wrapping up of data and functions into a single unit called class. So data encapsulation means capsule means that it's some kind of contents is there. That's a mixed level of contents will be there. It may be in a powder format or anything. Capsule. So encapsulation, it means that it's a kind of data and functions in a single unit format. That's a class. So here you can see that there is a class we have created account, and within that private and public, and we can have a 4 number of attributes and 3 number of functions we can have. And we are creating, there are 3 number of objects for a single class account. Saving account, fixed account, current account. These are all the various objects we have created for the single class account. Yeah. So that is the actual, the simple class, how to create a class and how to create a object for a class syntax. Now let us have a discussion of data abstraction. What is meant by data abstraction? That is the essential features only be taken without including the background data or explanations. That's a simple example is car drivers. There is no need of there is no need to be act as a mechanic. If that particular person knows about how to drive a car, that is enough. A computer operator need not be a software or hardware engineer. Okay, so that's a kind of some kind of based on the, it means that what is the actual meaning of that particular example is based on our objective in our real-time applications, we should know about that essential features. That's abstraction, means it's representing the essential features without including the background data. Okay, so based on our objective only we can know about that. That's a, for example, if the person if have come for the bank in order to get the loan, so there is no need to bother about other particulars which is available on a bank database. The main thing is what will be the salary they are having, and whether that particular person have already got the loan from some other banks or not. So likewise, the some kind of and the filtering process have to be carried out. How such a kind of verification process have to be done properly. So data abstraction means that the essential features only be taken. Okay, that is a data abstraction. That is the first definition you have to say. Then after that you can give n number of examples during the interview process. Then the next one is a data hiding or information hiding. The data within the class is not accessible by the outside world. Okay, so that is an important point. Information which is hidden. So only those kind of functions which are wrapped in the class can access it. The insulation of data from the direct access by the program is called data hiding. So it is not possible to access that particular data because it is wrapped together. So that's a data hiding and information hiding process. Then the next one is a inheritance. As you know that it will follow parent node and child node properties, parent child, or otherwise we can call it as a main and sub or derived file. So likewise the object of one class can acquire the properties of another class. So from this diagram you can easily understand we can have a n number of classes like n number of parents, that's the fathers or fathers and mothers, and the children's child features it will reflect and it will be observed from the either fathers as well as the mothers. So the characteristics will be inherited from our parents. So object of one class. So we are using n number of parents, that's fathers or mothers. So as a child, it will inherit the, and at the same time, it can also, the child can have individual features. As a human being, we can have individual characteristics. At the same time, we can also inherit the characteristics from our parents. So similar to that, in the inheritance concept, what we are doing is we can have a parent classes and we can have a child class or a derived class. The child class can inherit the properties from the parent classes. And here we are following is a kind of relationship. Okay, so in the while we are discussing about the inheritance concept along with the programming example, so we can have the pictorial representation for that for different types of inheritance what we are using. So let us discuss further. Then the next important term is a polymorphism. So polymorphism, poly means many, morphism means forms. So it is in the different kinds of forms. So while we are discussing about the program, you can clearly understand polymorphism. So polymorphism means that many forms. Okay. So here we are saying about that's a shape. The shape, it may be a circle or it may be a box or it may be a triangle. But the actual term what we are saying is a shape. That's the shape class. It can be in a different kinds of forms. Okay. So that's an example for that. Then types is the operator overloading and the function overloading. So this is a very very important concept. You can expect expect the interviewer perspective. And here the poly means many forms, and it will follow the different kinds of parent child concepts we can derive. And operator overloading, it means that a single operator can overload with a different kinds of more than one functions. For example, the plus operator we can use it for performing the addition, and at the same time the plus operator we can use it for performing the string concatenation. So more than one activities which is carried out by the single operator itself, that is the operator overloading. Okay, so we have to clearly explain that. That's a process of an operator to exhibit different behaviors in different instances is known as the operator overloading. Then the function overloading, it means that we can have a more than one functions with the same name. By means of the arguments we are passing, or based on the return type we are using the function we can differentiate. A single function name can be used to handle the different number of or different types of arguments. ஒரு கிளாஸுக்குள்ள we can have a number of functions. அந்த ஃபங்க்ஷனுக்கு உண்டான ஆர்குமெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து நம்பர் ஆஃப் ஆர்குமெண்ட்ஸை we can differentiate or otherwise இந்த ரெண்டு ஃபங்க்ஷன்லையுமே ஒரே நம்பர் ஆஃப் ஆர்குமெண்ட்ஸ் பாஸ் பண்ணுறோம். அந்த மாதிரி டயத்தில் எப்படி டிஃபரன்ஷியேட் பண்ணலான்னா based on the type of data type what we are declaring. ஃபஸ்ட் இதில் ரெண்டு ஆர்குமெண்ட்ஸ் நான் பாஸ் பண்ணுறேன். அதில் இன்டீஜர், இன்னொன்று ஃப்ளோட்டு. ரெண்டாவது இதில் என்ன பாஸ் பண்ணுறோம்னா, ஃபஸ்ட்டு இதில் வந்து இன்டீஜர், ரெண்டாவது இதுலேயும் இன்டீஜர் பாஸ் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்னா, தட் இஸ் both the functions will be look like different. Even it can have a same function name. Okay, so that is a function overloading. Then the next point is a dynamic binding and late binding. So dynamic binding, it means that it will refers to the linking of procedure calls to the code to be executed in the response to the call. So it means that it will connect. Dynamic, it means that is a during the runtime. During the runtime, there is a connectivity or link can be made between the function call and the function definition. Function call, function definition, you have already known. What is meant by declare? Function means it's an operation we are performing. It can have three different types of formats. One is a function declaration, then function definition, then function call. Okay, so that is a dynamic binding. It means that at runtime it will happen. The connectivity or the link between the function call and function definition will be carried out. So message passing, it means that the object can communicate with one object by means of sending messages. So here you can see that student is an object dot marks of roll number. So it means that we are calling that particular function, that marks is a message. Okay, that's an object can communicate with one another by means of messages. Then object oriented programming, usually we know about that object oriented programming. In addition to that, the another thing is object based programming language is also there. So it won't object based programming language, it won't support the object oriented programming concept. So let us have a discussion in the further slides. And object based programming languages, object based programming, it's a combination of encapsulation and object identity, that's all. There is no polymorphism, inheritance, message passing and other concepts we have followed. Usually we are not following now. So we are purely focusing on the object oriented programming concepts. Let us know about that. There was another some type of programming language as like a object oriented was available. Now it won't be there. Okay, so object oriented programming language, it will support the object oriented features and other things like inheritance, polymorphism, data encapsulation and all other things have been included. That is a object oriented program. These are all the some kind of examples we are using for object oriented. Then what will be the advantage of OOPS concepts? That is the elimination of redundant codes. So through inheritance we can achieve it. So then the use of existing classes and the secure programs through the principle of data hiding techniques. And as we have discussed earlier, that is a project. Based on the size of the project, we can divide the project into number of smaller modules and we can transfer it. And the software complexity can be easily managed and upgradation is also easy. So saving of development of time and higher level of productivity we can achieve. And the message passing is also one of the main features. So as we have discussed in the previous slide, the objects can communicate with another objects by using the messages. And definitely there is a demerits is also there for the OOPS concepts. The runtime cost of dynamic binding mechanism is more. Then compiler overhead and the runtime overhead is also there. And some of the examples applications of OOPS concepts, that's a UID, user interface design. Then real-time systems, simulations and modeling, object-oriented database, AI and expert system. Nowadays the peoples, they are focusing on AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning and expert systems. So everything purely based on this kind of object-oriented programming. And hypertext, hypermedia, neural networks concepts, decision making supports, office automation, CAMCAD systems. So these are all the various kind of applications which is supported by the object-oriented programming. I hope you can understand clearly. So if you have any kind of doubts or clarification, you can comment. And this is the major difference between the procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. So I think you can recollect all those points what we have discussed earlier and you can see the comparison between that. Procedure-oriented means algorithms we are using and here the data and functions and the program program is divided into number of sub-programs or functions. Here the objects and classes. Here and the procedural oriented programming, we have used the global data, but the object can communicate through the functions. So it's a top-down approach, bottom-up approach, and data cannot be secured, but here the data hiding procedures we can apply in the object-oriented programming, and we must declare some data items at the declaration part itself, and but here at the declare the data items and functions at the right of the scope, and reusability of existing coding is not possible, but object-oriented programming with the use of inheritance concept we can achieve the reusability of code. And polymorphism not supported. Here the polymorphism supported. Software complexity cannot be managed very easily, but here the software complexity can be managed easily. High level programming languages such as very old languages, basics, COBOL, C, Fortran, these are all some kind of procedural based languages, but here the object oriented programming, it will support the Java, C++, Smalltalk. These are all some kind of all other programming languages. After the C++, it will support the object oriented programming. OOPS concepts. Now let us discuss about C++. That is a actual story of previous history of C++. It was developed by Bjarne Stroustrup at AT&T Bell Laboratories, and at the time of 1980s, it's a superset of C because the C is a structured programming language. So in order to increase the functionalities of a C programming, we have go for introducing the object-oriented programming. Like first one is a C++, and it will support the various kind of other object-oriented concepts as we have discussed earlier. So this is an actual simple program for C++. It's a main function. We have declared the header file, main function. Within that we are using the C in or C out. Okay. In the C programming, we have used either scanf to read the input, or printf to give a output to the user, or write operation, perform the write operation. But here the cin for read the input from the user, and cout for write the output to the user. So here there are two single line commands, or it may be a multi-line commands we have used. And C++, we have to type the command, type the program, then save it with the extension of cpp C++. That's a short form for that .cpp extension. And we can compile the program. Either we can compile it, or otherwise Alt F9 shortcut we can use it for compiling. And to run the program, we have to use the short Control F9. Control F9 command we can use it. Then the next important term is a tokens. What is meant by token? So token is the smallest unit in the program, and it can have the following kind of token. C++. The first one is identifiers, keywords, constants, and operators. Let us have a discussion of the each and every tokens individually. And the identifiers and variables, it means that is the name of the variable. Functions and arrays, classes created by the programmers. So here you can see that here the whatever the variables we have declared, it may be is in the form of alphabets, or it may be in numerals, or it may be underscore, or it may be in capital letter or smaller case. The variable should not begin with a digit. So that's why we go for declaring some kind of variables. There is some kind of conditions or constraints are there. So we have to take care of it, or otherwise your program will not run. It will show the error. The variable initialization issues may be arise. So C++, it does not set the maximum length of the identifiers. The special characters are not allowed in a variables like bracket, square bracket. We should not use it. We can use only the underscore in order to separate the more than one characters, or we can use it. Then some of the valid identifiers and invalid identifiers I have given it for your easy understanding purpose. So valid identifiers means either we can use the underscore symbols. Okay, if it is an invalid means that is if it is starts with a number. the variable starts with a number, or otherwise bracket symbol we have used. That is a special characters we have used. That is some kind of errors or invalid identifiers we are using. Okay. Then at the same time, if the gross salary as a single variable, if we have declared, then there won't be any kind of space between the two words, gross and salary. It should be connected by means of the underscore sign. Then the dynamic initialization. So dynamic means we have already known that that's a during runtime. During runtime, how can we initialize the variables? Variable can be initialized as a static or it may be a dynamic. Static, it means that the variable can be initialized. That is here in this diagram you can see that. So here there is a main function. So within that we have declared some variables, float a and float sum is equal to 0. We have initialized. This is a declaration of variable a. So while we go for explaining the program, most of the students have they have not taken more care on technical explanations. So there are two. Here the a is a variable declaration part. Here sum is equal to 0 means we have declared the variable sum as well as we have initialized the value as 0. So here the variable initialization and declaration, both the two things we have done. Okay. Then we are using the for loop, and that for loop will be executed for 5 times, and we are getting the input from the user, that is a cin, and we are performing the sum of all the 5 numbers, first 5 numbers. But we have not initialized the sum value, have been already initialized as sum is equal to 0. So it will be incremented, and at last the final iteration, the final value have been stored on the sum. That sum value, if you are going to store means, if you are going to display it means there won't be any kind of issue. Then by using that value, we are going to find out the average of that value. The main objective of the program is finding the average of first 5 numbers based on the user input. So here the average we have calculated. The average thing is we have initialized as a dynamic format. Okay. So at the last we are going to display it. That is the main difference of dynamic and initialization of variables. Then the next one is a reference variable. So this is a very, very important thing. The reference variable, it provides an alternative name for previously defined variable. So some variables may be declared defined already. So those kind of names we can give some alternate name. That's a reference name we can provide. So the syntax is data type and the reference variable name and the variable name. So while we are creating the reference of a previously declared variable, that previously declared variable is also available. At the same time, the reference variable values is also available. Okay. So in this point, you can keep it in your mind, and we can let us move on to the program. And here we are in this program, the float total is equal to 400. We have declared the total value as 400. And then what we have done means sum is the alternate name of the variable name TOT. So here you can see that TOT value we have already stored it as a 400. Now the reference name, variable name, we can give it as a sum. So the sum value is also considered as a 400. So here we are going to display this total as well as sum. Both the value will be stored as a 400, 400. Now I am going to increase the total value into 100. So that is a 400 will become 500. It will change the value of both the total and sum, because that's a reference variable. So if we are making any kind of changes on the one particular variable total, it has to be reflected on the sum also. So now we are going to display that variable. Both the variables have been displayed as 500, 500. Okay. So then the next one is a sum we have initialized as 0. The sum is assigned to the value 0. You can change the value of both the tot and sum. Okay. So that is a thing. So total have been displayed as 0, and here it will be displayed as 0 also. So that's a kind of process. I think you can understand that clearly that what is the use of reference variable. And okay, now let us move on to the next topic. So in this program, you can clearly understand that if you are making any kind of changes on any one particular variable, it has been reflected on the both the variables, both the ordinary original variables as well as the reference variable also. It will be like a replica of the single variable. Okay. So these are all the some of the important keywords which is reserved keywords are available. While we go for declaring any kind of variables in our program, we should not use such a kind of keywords. So this is for your reference. You can refer it. If you want to note it down, you can pass it and you can write it down. Now let us move on to the constants. So constant means these are all the different kinds of constants are available. It may be a string constant, numeric constants, character constants, or symbolic constants. So character constants, it means that it may be a positive or negative numbers. So the following tables shows the data types and its corresponding sizes in terms of bytes. So the interviewer, they may have asked what is the size of that in individual each and every data types. If it's a character means 1, short means 2 bytes, integer means 2 or 4 bytes, long means 4 or 8 bytes. So likewise, there will be a different size of data types may be there. And these are all the character constants. So while we are typing some programs that we are using, there are so many number of character constants we have used, and we should aware of that what is the purpose of we are using. So usually most of the time we are using the horizontal tab or backspace, next line character, new line character we have used. Then these are all the some kind of various other character based constants. So you can note it if you want, you can note it down. And while you are explaining that program, if you have explained along with this is the actual character constant I have used, and by using that your program output will come in this way. If you have explained, they will appreciate. Then symbolic constants. So symbolic constants means that using the constant keyword or enum keyword we are using. There are two keywords. Constant keyword means we cannot modify it by the program, and that is the actual syntax for that constant keyword. Constant, data type, and variable name and value. Yeah, here the integer a value we have initialized as 100. That's a constant value. We cannot make any kind of changes on it. So that's the thing. So here the cout value we are going to display, and a value a plus 10. We have tried to increase the value of that value a. So the error will become happen. So that's it, cannot modify the constant object. So if you want, you can copy that. You can type this command in your compiler. It may be online compiler or Turbo C, and you can get an experience on that, how it will produce a error. And then the next one is a enum keyword. So what is the use of enum keyword? It means that is a enum, that is a we can declare there are n number of variables within the enum. So the variable value will be starts from the 0 in the enum function. So here you can see that the first example we have passed the enum variable as a b c, and that value have been initialized. We have not initialized anything. By default, enum will declare that variable value starts from the 0. So a value will become 0, 1 and 2. So that is the actual output for that. So here there are number of character constants we have used in order to give a the display for your results. And the next one is in this diagram you can see that, and here we have initialized the value of a is equal to 100 and b is equal to 200 and 300. Now the value have been explicitly changed to 100, 200 or 300. So if I have forgotten to type the value of c here, what will be the value have been displayed if you are executing that program? The value will become 201. So the incremental process will be done one by one order. Okay. So here there are, by default it will be considered as 0, 1, 2, and if you have declared any kind of if we have initialized any kind of values to that arguments, it will be display, or otherwise it will increment the value by 1 and it will display. Okay, so in the upcoming class, let us discuss about the various kind of operators which is available on your C++. So let us have a detailed explanations in the next slide, next video lectures. I hope you can clearly understand. So some of the students, you may have already familiar about the basic concepts in C or C++. So if you have known, means that is you can just go through it. There is no need to give a deep idea on that. And thank you for your patient listening. And in the next upcoming slides, let us have a discussion of the various kind of operators and functions which is available on the C++. Thank you.